Good evening, I'm Shivani Chamjong and let's begin with the top stories. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli visits post-earthquake reconstruction sites in Gujrat, set to visit Mumbai later today. Government faces the challenge of ending power cut within 2 years. Nepalese embassy in Malaysia says more and more Nepalis working illegally have started applying for return documents. And death toll in the cyclone that hit Fiji in the weekend rises to 29. Officials warn it could take months to clear up. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli went to Gujarat today to view the post-earthquake reconstruction work. He was welcomed by Gujarat State Governor Om Prakash Kolhi. A huge number of locals had gathered at Gujarat Airport to welcome Oli. Oli is arriving in Mumbai later today after he takes stock of the post-earthquake projects. There he will hold talks with the Governor of Maharashtra. Prime Minister Oli conducted political and diplomatic meetings yesterday. He also addressed the business fraternity. The PM, who is on a 6-day visit to India, is set to return home tomorrow. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli said his 6-day India visit has narrowed the differences between the two nations. Indian diplomats have emphasized on strengthening the bilateral relation between the two nations through continued dialogue. Speaking at the events held in New Delhi, Prime Minister Oli reiterated that bilateral relations with the southern neighbor have improved and there are no differences between the two nations. Oli added that extensive discussions on various issues were held with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India had expressed their dissatisfaction over the 16-point agreement forged before the promulgation of the constitution. Prime Minister Oli said that it is essential for Nepal to move ahead understanding India's security concerns and their sensitivity. Prime Minister Oli had prepared the political mechanism to resolve the issues of federal delineation just 1 day ahead of his India visit. He said that he will adopt flexibility while addressing the demands of the Madheshi Morcha. Bilateral relations between the two nations have improved after PM Oli signed 7 agreements during his India visit. Differences between the two nations had widened after the unofficial blockade imposed by India. Sadbhavana Party Chairman Rajendra Mahato said that unless the demands raised by Madheshi Morcha is addressed, the political mechanism holds no significance. Speaking at a press conference organized to make public the decisions taken in the National Working Committee meeting, Chairman Mahato said they will not accept the government's political mechanism unless and until the demands of the Madheshis are addressed. Mahato has demanded that government's mechanism should declare the ones who lost their lives in the Tarai agitation as martyrs and provide free treatment to those injured in clashes. Meanwhile, 5 people who had gone missing in a mudslide in Magdi's Annapurna Ranges Baraha Peak area have come into contact. The villagers were foraging for bamboo when they were hit by the avalanche. The locals and the police conducted search for the missing men. The region saw landslides in several places after the 5.5 aftershock epicentering Gorkha on Sunday night. Landslides occurred at several places last night. The villagers said that the avalanches had also occurred in some places of the peak. It's time now. Welcome back. Now, at a time when the nation is facing over 13 hours of power outage, the government has proposed to do away with power cuts within 2 years. But the implementation aspects of the intention is challenging. While Nepal has 6,000 rivers, making it a rich source of hydropower, the country reels under severe energy scarcity. The government recently declared its intention of ending power outage in the country. It has said it will make arrangements to generate 10,000 megawatts of electricity in the next 10 years. In the past, former Energy Minister Bharat Mohan Adhikari had declared energy crisis, declaring the nation as undergoing severe scarcity of energy. The 5-year plan, termed Energy Emergency, became a highly talked about issue, but it was soon put to rest after it received little in terms of implementation. This time the government has been saying that it will use the past experiences to bring the plan into force. It is a trend in Nepal's government offices to form plans that are never implemented. Whether the current plans will see the light of the day or just become another file in the government office shelf is yet to be seen. Now, Nepal's embassy in Malaysia has said that the rate of the return of illegal migrant workers has increased. Between 35 to 40 migrant workers have started arriving at the Nepali embassy on a daily basis to apply for travel documents. In the past, 5 to 10 people would go on a daily basis to get their paperwork done. Nepalese ambassador to Malaysia, Niranjan Mansingh Wasnat, said that many illegally staying Nepalis had shown an interest to return home. Wasnat said that the Malaysian government was also stepping up arrest of illegal workers as well as beginning the process of their registration. From Friday onwards, more than 170 Nepalis have been arrested. They have been detained to be deported. There are 200,000 Nepalis working and living illegally in Malaysia. Internal discussions between the two countries on how to bring back the detained migrants is yet to be held. There are over 150,000 illegal migrants in Malaysia. The country employs migrants from 14 different countries. Nepal is the second biggest supplier of human resource to Malaysia after Indonesia. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry is preparing to introduce open and distance learning for classes 11 and 12 starting next year. Education Minister Girjamani Pokhrel told a press conference that since there is already open and distance learning in university-level courses, there should be the same facilities in high schools. Minister Pokhrel has appointed 5 members to help Director of the Education Department, Mr. Khagraj Baral, to implement these facilities. Similarly, the grading system is also being introduced for high school level courses. Technical and Vocational Training Committee CTEVT has also decided to adopt the grading system. It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you SMS us with your opinion.
Janamat.
Rationing of fuel and cooking gas is lifted. The options are A. Effective monitoring, B. Be fair to consumers, and C. Curb black marketeering. The voting for that question is on. Type NEWS, select your options A, B or C and send it to 8080 to share your opinion with us. Now, an international update. The number of people killed in the cyclone that hit Fiji at the weekend has risen to 29, with officials warning the clear-up could take months. About 8,500 people are still hit the country. Government spokesman Ewan Perrin told Radio New Zealand that the houses of 2,000 families who live in Coral Island had been pretty much flattened. 8 bodies were found there on Monday. Rescue workers warned that the death toll could rise further as some of the worst hit outlying islands have not been reached. The New Zealand Air Force has helped Fijian rescuers carry out aerial inspections across almost all the islands. The government has declared a state of emergency and called on private companies to help provide transport and relief supplies. Officials had also put in place a nationwide curfew, giving police extra powers of arrest, but it was lifted on Monday. Schools are shut for a week, but the main airport has reopened to receive humanitarian supplies and allow tourists to leave. Australia and New Zealand have authorized the release of emergency aid supplies held in Suva. Now, the US and Russia have announced that a planned cessation of hostilities in Syria will come into effect at midnight on the 27th of February. Their statement said the truce did not include so-called Islamic State and the Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. World powers agreed on 12th February that a truce would come into effect within a week, but that deadline passed and skepticism remains over the new plan. On Sunday, 140 died in bombings in homes in Damascus as the violence continued. More than 250,000 Syrians have been killed in the conflict, which began in March 2011. Some 11 million others have been forced from their homes, of which 4 million have fled abroad, including growing numbers who are making the dangerous journey to Europe. Separately, Syria's government has called a parliamentary election for 13th of April. The last was in 2012 and they are held every 4 years. The White House said that President Barack Obama has phoned his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin at Putin's request to discuss the efforts to establish the cessation of hostilities. After the phone call, the joint Russian-US statement was released. The truce applied to those parties to the Syrian conflict that have indicated their commitment to an acceptance of its terms. This included IS, Nusra and other terrorist organizations designated by the UN. And with that, we'll take another short break. For more news, stay. Manchester United has sailed into the quarter-finals after ousting Division 3 Shrewsbury Town 3-0 at the FA Cup. By beating Shrewsbury 3-0 at their own home field, Manchester United's coach Louis van Gaal made it clear that he's still around. After performing terribly in the Premier League, this win has come as a saving grace for van Gaal. Manchester's Chris Smalling scored his first FA Cup goal at the 35th minute, followed by Juan Mata's goal in the free kick. A third goal was scored in the 61st minute by Jesse Lingard. United was down one player for the last 14 minutes of the game after Wilkin got injured. United now faces Premier League opponent West Ham in the quarter-finals. And before we wrap up, a reminder of our top stories. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli visits post-earthquake reconstruction sites in Gujrat, set to visit Mumbai later today. Government faces the challenge of ending power cut within 2 years. Nepal's embassy in Malaysia says more and more Nepalis working illegally have started applying for return documents. And death toll in the cyclone that hit Fiji in the weekend rises to 29. Officials warn it could take months to clear up. That's all for the moment. We'll be back with more news in English at 10:30 in the evening. Keep watching Kandipur Television. Goodbye.